How many of you remember having someone come into your classroom once a month when you were in elementary school and talk to you about paintings, and they'd bring in 2 paintings and tell you about the artist? Yeah. So that's what I did for my senior project. It's the Art Reach Picture Program. And basically the idea of it is that a volunteer, or what they call a docent, goes into a classroom once a month and brings in the 2 provided paintings and discusses the artist, the art history, and the techniques they use. And this allows us to bring the museum to the classroom because a lot of the children don't get a chance to go to the Detroit Institute of Art or the Chicago Institute of Art, so they don't get to see those parts of culture. So this allows them to learn about that. And I also personally did not get involved in art until I was in high school because I hated how the art teachers wanted us to do everything their way. So we didn't get a lot of freedom. So if I wanted to make this guy pink, I couldn't. I had to make it blue, and we had to follow the rules. And a lot of times when they'd be teaching us the techniques, they wouldn't explain to us why they did it that way, why we drew 2-point perspectives that way. They didn't explain it to us. So I wanted to teach kids the basics of art and let them know why they do things and allow them to discover their passion for art because, like I said, I didn't figure mine out until high school when I took general art. So my big question was, how can I educate children and get them excited about art? And what effects will this education have on the kids? So whether it'll be positive or negative. And then my goals, which kind of relate to my big question, I want to get the kids excited about art and educate them by teaching them and showing them all the cool things you can do, and assist in growing the lifelong skills art provides you with, and then provide the kids with a creative outlet so they get to draw and color and do things like that. And some of the skills that I discovered while doing my research are improved academic performance. They said that if a kid is happy about one subject or one area, then they'll often do better in other subjects, so math, English, things like that. And like I said before, cultural awareness. Kids don't get to go to museums, so this allows them to see those other parts of the culture. And inventiveness, so say if you're drawing or doing something, you accidentally make a mistake. It allows kids to come up with a different way to fix that mistake, to make it into a flower or a piece of their painting. And then problem solving, which kind of relates to inventiveness. It's basically just coming up with an idea or a different way to fix things. Throughout my research, I basically looked at the funding cuts that were made across America due to the recession in 2009, and then the skills that kids learn from art, which I kind of mentioned before, and finally how to teach kids about art in the best way for them to understand it. And like I said, funding has been cut, and I know I have a younger sister in 5th grade, and the elementary schools share art and music teachers, and she only gets half an hour twice a week in each class, and that's definitely not enough time for kids to learn about these things and to discover whether or not they like it. And you're good. And the skills that kids learn not only will be important in their academic career, but they can later use these skills in life, and they might even decide that art is the career they want to do. And the best way for kids to learn, I found, was to break things down into simpler concepts so that they can understand it. I know I struggled with trying to explain Impressionist art to them because some of the words that you use to describe it are so out of their vocabulary, so you have to make things into their terms that they can understand. So I presented once a month in Mrs. Baker's 2nd grade classroom at Pullen Elementary School, and I started in January 2014. So I would bring in 2 of the paintings, like I said before, that are provided by Art Reach, and I would teach a lesson on the artists and their technique and the type of art they did. And then I would bring in a project for the kids, so then they wouldn't be sitting listening to me talk for just a half hour. So that way they could spend 15 minutes doing the project and 15 minutes having me talk about it. So these are some of the paintings that I presented, And if you look at them, I have them side by side, the two paintings I would bring in, and most of them relate. So you can see at the top there's Bedroom at Arles and Victorian Interior, and they're both interiors, bright colors. So I would compare and contrast the paintings with the kids and ask them what they saw and what they thought things were, especially with abstract paintings like Head of a Man and Chatham K. And the blue vase and Chatham K were the paintings I was presenting when we took pictures. And the project I did for that was, like the painting, I brought in a black piece of construction paper for the kids, and I cut up squares in red, yellow, orange, and pink. And I talked to them about how, like in the painting, the color wheel, all the colors relate. So red and yellow make orange, and pink is a shade of red. So then I let the kids arrange the colors based on those relationships, and some of them followed that directions, and then others made patterns and got creative with it. And other projects I would bring in would be a coloring page. So then I brought in a coloring page for Bedroom at Arles, and as you can see, the colors were primarily blues and browns. So I told the kids they could come up with their own color scheme for it. So some of them did really bright colors like green and yellow, and then others did pretty neutral colors like black and brown. And then here are some pictures of me presenting to the class and the kids doing the project. And I did have the kids take a survey once I was done, and I presented, my last day was this Monday. So first of all, I asked how much did they like the picture program on a scale. And then second, I asked what their favorite part was. And third, to rank the things we did, so projects, talking about the artists, things like that, from 1 to 5. So 1 was their favorite, 5 was their least favorite. And the feedback I received was really positive. Almost all the kids thought the picture program was really great. And they said some of their favorite parts were the abstract art because it was so different. And they liked the painting Chatham K, which I used for the project because it was so different from everything else they had seen. And they really just liked talking about the art and learning the new techniques. And their favorite parts were talking about the artists, learning about the types of art and the projects. And I also asked the teacher, Mrs. Baker, what she thought about the program. So first I asked if she thought it was beneficial to her students and how. And did she think that the students enjoyed the picture program? And any suggestions or changes that would make the picture program better for her or the students? And finally, most important, would she sign up again next year? And so she said that she thought the picture program was beneficial to her students because it gave them that cultural exposure, and it gave them a chance to be creative as well, and also learn about art history. And she said that the students really enjoyed the picture program and would always ask when I was coming in again. And she suggested maybe giving them a more in-depth project, so something they could possibly take home and then bring back. And that would focus on basically the style the artist did. And finally, the most important part, she did say she would sign up again next year. And in conclusion, I saw that the kids became more involved as I came in more. They became more comfortable. And they were always really excited to do the projects, and it allowed them to have a chance to get creative. And the kids would always say that they loved the projects I brought in, and it gave them a break from normal school. And I saw too, the kids kind of looked up to me, and they were always really excited, and they asked me questions, and I think they began to see me as a leader. And I also gained experience public speaking and working with younger children. And I am just really glad that I got a chance to go in and speak to these kids because I think it's important for them to learn about art and discover if they do have a passion for this.